So I was thinking, we've lost some really good people in sports media recently. We did our tribute to Sekou Smith a couple of weeks ago. Sekou was a longtime NBA writer, ultimately had been working at NBA TV and NBA.com, and he had joined us so many times throughout the years talking NBA. In baseball, we just lost Pedro Gomez, and Pedro was one of the most respected voices in sports and baseball as well. And then Therese Paylor, who I did not know personally, but enjoyed his work very much and had only heard really great things about him as both a writer and as a person. And as you saw, the outpouring of tributes to Therese over the last couple of days, you realized, as Bill had mentioned there, Jim Rome did quite a bit on him, and many other places memorialized him, that he was an amazing guy. And I bring this up for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's just hard to lose people that are so young. Therese Paylor was 37. Sekou Smith was 48. And Pedro Gomez was 58. All well before their time. Hard to lose people so young, but also hard to lose really good people. Hard to lose really good people. All three of those guys, not a bad word anybody could say about them in the business. Now, as you might imagine, this is a cutthroat, hyper-competitive business where there's a lot of jealousy, a lot of envy, a lot of ego, and there is oftentimes a lot of backbiting and backstabbing and back and forth on social media or back channels, what have you. And those three guys never had that, because all three of them were defined by doing it the right way. They all had that background of hardcore journalism. All three of them, newspaper reporters first and foremost, in those locker rooms, making those phone calls, building those relationships, building that trust. That's quite a skill set. All three of those guys had that. And I admire that quite a bit, because I never came through the newspaper ranks to where you get paid nothing, but you have to make something out of those relationships and those sources and being in that locker room every single day. But I admired it so much that I made sure I committed myself to doing much of the same and being in locker rooms and talking to guys and understanding the dynamics and internally, so that I wasn't just on the outside throwing grenades. You know, when you do this job and you're behind a microphone and there's no accountability because you don't see those guys every single day, you pull the pin, you throw the grenade every single day, and what does it matter? Those guys are there. Those men and women that work in those locker rooms are there, and they have to be accountable. And that's why I have so much respect for the way that they do it, and they have done it. And so to lose those three people, Therese Paylor and Pedro Gomez and Sekou Smith, is a real blow to the industry, because we need more people like that in the industry that do it like that. But also, while they should be recognized for doing it the right way and being above the fray, I want to also remind you, there is a culture now of hating the media. And I don't take it personally, because it's not a personal thing for me. But I'm part of the media. And I have a number of friends in the media that also don't take it personally as well. It's just part of the culture. Hate the media. And I understand why in some cases. You know, somebody like me that comes on the radio and might feel or sound to you to be really self-assured, cocksure, arrogant, egotistical because I'm defiant in my takes, or I'm making fun of somebody that you root for, or I'm tearing down a team that you like, or what have you. I understand. That can twist a lot of people the wrong way. And look, that's what this job entails, and that's what my personality sometimes is. It's not that I try to be disrespectful, but I'm very animated in some of my opinions, and it might come off that way. But I want you to try to separate the opinionists like myself and the people that you see spew hot takes on TV from the journalists. Because I think we all get lumped together, and that's not fair. Curt Schilling didn't get into the Hall of Fame this year, and one of the main reasons is he once retweeted a picture of a guy wearing a T-shirt that said, "Rope, tree, journalist, some assembly required." Curt Schilling retweeted this and said, "Okay, so much awesome here." The context is obvious. Lynch the journalists. Rope, tree, journalist. And I get it. I've told you, don't watch cable news. I don't watch cable news. I don't care what side of the spectrum you're on. Way right, way left, center right, center left, totally center, doesn't matter. I think it's all hack trash. Made to stoke your anger. Made to stoke your fear. Made to divide us because it benefits their ratings and their bottom line. But separate that from journalism. Because I attended a journalism school, and I got a lot of pride in what I learned and what those professors demanded and what my school and my degree defined. I got a lot of respect for that because a lot of it came from the tenets of what these three guys that we just lost were all about. You don't make the story about you. You work your sources. You make sure it's right. You double check that it's right. You don't go with something that may not be right. And you try every single day to do the right thing in telling the truth. Therese Paylor, Pedro Gomez, and Sekou Smith embodied that. They were journalists. And if you still think it's okay to wear a T-shirt that says "Rope Tree Journalist, some assembly required," I would encourage you to think about these guys' careers, because my guess is if you're a sports fan, you know all of them, if not one or two of them, and you're familiar with their work, and you probably never had a bad thing to say about them. My guess is nobody that is listening right now has ever had a bad thing to say about their reporting, their journalism, their pieces, their interviews. Nothing. But would you still find it okay to walk into their house knowing that their families are grieving and that you had worn a T-shirt that said "hang them"? Hang them all. It is part of what's the most corrosive part of our culture today, is that we have distanced ourselves from the people that we view as enemies and said, to hell with all of them, and thought and said and reflected really terrible ideals towards them. And we've been led there by people like Curt Schilling, or like people in cable news, or like politicians that have stoked those divisions and flames for their own benefit. Personally, I don't take it personally, but what I think is it's wildly disconnected from reality. That journalism actually is vital. Good journalism is absolutely crucial. And the people that do it really well should be applauded and honored and admired, not trashed, ripped down, or threatened simply because of their profession. Therese Paylor, Pedro Gomez, Sekou Smith, they did amazing work by being journalists. And I appreciate all of them and the work that they left behind in passing away too soon.